Coming up this Saturday on Beyond the Vibe, I'm joined by Pete Spiby of Black Spiders.
I guess we were kind of trying to take it in our stride, really.
Yeah.
But when it actually came to the gig and Ozzy sort of, he pretty much floated on stage when we were doing our sound check to chat with us and everything, and then summoned us to his dressing room just before we were going to go on to have a chat. It kind of became a bit like, oh fuck, what? Yes, oh shit, this is what's happening now. Earning our road stripes, as it were, by having to drive pretty much 12 hours from England, from London all the way across up to northern Germany to open this festival that we didn't even know whether it was a decent sized festival, whether there'd be anybody there or anything like that. But it was amazing.
If there was one band that you could tour with from the past and one from the present, who would they be? Everybody struggles with this question. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well. I noticed, of course, you've done the first annual gig, the fan club gig.
We have, yes. That was on Wednesday.
I spoke with Steve before from Scam. I noticed.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I noticed he was buzzing to get to do that. He was obviously saying he'd been wanting to play with you for a while, so be on the same billing,
Yes, apparently so. So yeah, so we made that dream come true.
Yes. So I'm here with Pete of Black Spiders. Thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me.
Not a problem, Ryan. It's all good.
Yeah, that's cool. Of course, on this show, I like to kind of go back to how things all began. So what was it like growing up for you, and kind of what first attracted you towards wanting to play music?
I don't know, really. I think I just caught the bug at a very early age. And I started by playing drums at school. Someone taught me how to play drums at school that was in the school band. And then myself and some friends had like a little band that we used to rehearse with every weekend when we were still at school. And I think it probably just went from there, really. I don't know.
Cool.
I think, but my older sisters were both very musical when they were younger, and at school they were both like highly versed in piano, guitar, and violin. So maybe that rubbed off on me, because I guess their influence on music kind of rubbed off on me a little bit too. They were obsessed with like certain things, and obviously they hammered it into me, I think.
Yeah, it's one thing I do find you do when I ask this kind of question. You do see a lot of people that generally seem to come from like a musical background, either a parent or an older brother or a sister or something like that. There seems to be a lot of this kind of musical connection. Like there's a bit of a history there, at least from people I've spoken to. I mean, it may be a trend, who knows?
It could be, yeah. I guess there's a lot of people that just get into it on their own, but I'm guessing that's just how my path started, really. Obviously, like my friends at school, so a lot of their older brothers were into rock music, which is kind of what got me into it as well, really, I suppose. First at school, and my sisters had been infiltrating my brain with all their musical tastes. I can't particularly say that I was just into rock music. I think I was into so many different things. So yeah.
Did you have like a first kind of band, or did you go to like a first gig that kind of you really kind of connected with? I find that a lot of musicians, they kind of have like a moment where it's like either, I don't know, a certain band, and it's like, oh, you know, I'd love to do something kind of like this, or go and do, you know what I mean, like something kind of in a vein.
Well, when I was younger, when I started playing drums, there was a guy that used to live on the same street as me that kind of owned owned like a drum making factory. And my sister used to babysit for his kids, and I think she must have told him that I'd started playing drums at school or something. So he took me along to a couple of gigs because he used to endorse a few people like Status Quo and the Stranglers and stuff like that. And I remember kind of seeing the Stranglers and thinking that they were pretty cool. But then I think what probably changed it was maybe when I was about 14, I went to like a local rock club and saw a band. They were kind of just doing covers, but yeah, that kind of blew my mind a little bit. I was like, wow, okay. So it's not just like massive rock stars that can play all this kind of stuff. It's like, you know, anybody can do it really. And I think that's probably where it started, perhaps.
So of course, you know, with Black Spiders, you know, the band had seemingly kind of gone your separate ways back in 2017. But of course, now you've come back. How did this kind of return come about?
Well, you know, when we called it a day, we kind of knew it probably wouldn't be forever, but Ozzy, guitarist in the band, was getting married in the summer of 2019, and we kind of were all together at that point, and we kind of been discussing the idea. We've been kind of throwing the idea around a little bit, and when we were all at Ozzy's wedding, it kind of escalated a little bit. So I just took it from there really, and then sort of emailed everybody and just said, oh, you know, what do you think? Everybody was up for doing it really. So that's kind of how it started. Then we started down the path. Myself and Ozzy started down the path of like writing some new songs. Yeah, and then unfortunately Tiger Sy, the drummer, was about to start having a family and was doing other things in his life, and I think just kind of didn't have the sort of time to put into being in a band really anymore. I mean, I know he's still into music, and he probably still does little bits of music on his own, but I think he thought that if we were going to jump back into what we'd been doing previously, it was something that he wouldn't be able to continue doing. So he had to bow out, really. He carried on getting some songs together. But then the pandemic hit, so that was like, that was the biggest obstacle really in the way then, because we couldn't particularly really do anything. We couldn't rehearse or any of that kind of stuff. But we just carried on writing music, and we kind of found a new way of doing things. So what you lose in chips, you gain in peas, they say up here,
Of course, Wyatt Wendels being kind of the final piece of the puzzle, joining the band as the drummer. Many people would have obviously know him and associate him with, obviously being a host on Planet Rock. How did, you guys kind of reach that conclusion of, this is the guy that we want to go for and we want to get him on board?
It was quite a tough process, I guess, thinking about who we were going to get to replace Sy. And we weren't sure where to start really at first. I mean, we know plenty of other drummers and everything, but it needed to be somebody that was as good as, if not better than, Sy. And he'd kind of set the bar quite high, really. And there's a couple of other people, and so we reached out to a few people to see what the lay of the land was with that. And at the same time, I'd kind of been having a little bit of a conversation with Wyatt about something else. And he'd been doing his drums of appreciation during the pandemic on Planet Rock. Like, I think it started out as a weekly thing, and then it ended up being like a daily thing. So, and like we kind of I kind of knew him a little bit. We'd kind of spoken and done some interview stuff before, and kind of got on quite well. And he just seemed to. Well, I guess you must have heard his. Most people, if you listen to Planet Rock and listened to Planet Rock during the pandemic, heard Wyatt's renditions of people's intros or outros or whatever for songs, and so he's very good, very technical at like learning all the drum fills and intros and things very, very meticulously. So we kind of thought, well, I sort of just messaged him really and asked him if he was in a band, if he'd ever been in a band, or whether it was just something that it was like a hobby for him or something, because I guess I'd never really known that he'd been in a band previously or anything like that. And then it just clicked really, and everyone else that we were kind of looking at, there wasn't basically Wyatt was it really, it was like we would have been kind of probably having to put larger feelers out or getting in touch with other people and trying to find out what was happening. And so he was really interested in getting together with the band. And so we sent him over some demos that we'd done that myself and Ozzy had been doing on GarageBand. And because he had his drums set up like an electronic drum kit kind of thing set up in his garage or wherever he'd been doing his Planet Rock show from. And so he was actually able to drum along to the songs and put his own drum take down on the demos, which was amazing, really. There's a total fluke that he was able to do that. And, and so we kind of sent them on the Friday to him, and there was like 3 song ideas. And then by the Sunday afternoon, he'd already sent them back, like finished. And so we were like, wow, that's amazing. These are really good. So we knew that there was a lift in the lockdown procedures coming up. So we just booked the studio. Basically, I kind of booked the studio and said, right, we're just going to go in the studio and we're going to do it. And we're going to record with Wyatt, and see what happens. And we did, and it just sounded amazing. So that was that, really. Yes. all very lucky that we got him, to be fair.
Yeah. Of course, the first release since your band's return was the EP Death Proof, and then quickly followed up, just a few months later with the self-titled album. You don't see many bands kind of have 2 releases that kind of quickly and close together in a year, particularly in the year that it was, with everything going on in the world.
Sure.
What was that kind of process like? Were you just writing lots of songs, going in the studio, and you just thought, let's put these out there, or?
Well, we'd written quite a lot of songs, and so when we actually recorded, there was more than an album's worth. And originally, it was just going to be a single. And then there was going to be a delay in the actual album production, I think, at that point. And so we kind of thought at that point in time, because we couldn't actually go out and gig, music was kind of the currency, for bands in a way. And I think people were just gagging for new music. And we kind of thought, well, in the past, I think we've been known for doing quite a lot of EPs that had some great songs on that weren't on albums, so we just decided to go with that really, and thought, well, let's carry on that tradition and just, we'll do an EP that's got, the lead track from the album, and then some other tracks on there that, make it worthy of a standalone release, while we, wait for the actual physical stuff of the album to be ready for when that was going to be able to be released. Just to give people, just to whet people's appetite a little bit more, really, I suppose. In anticipation of a full album coming out.
You touched on it a bit there with the working over that kind of period, but do you have like a certain kind of creative process when it comes to writing songs, and has that kind of altered with the way that you've kind of had to adapt over the last 2 releases?
Well, I mean, previously we'd kind of, people brought ideas to the rehearsal room, and then we basically played them to death until we were happy with how a song was, and then we'd record it. And that process sometimes sort of killed the vibe and sort of killed a lot of ideas off, because if 1 or 2 people didn't like a particular idea, then it wouldn't ever go anywhere. And so, we had this huge graveyard of songs that we were probably never going to do anything with at that point. Which is probably why we only did 2 albums and a couple of EPs within that whole period, when, before, like from when we started to when we actually called it a day in 2017. I think if we would have been a little bit more prolific and had it together a bit more, we could have probably banged out 4 albums in that period. And so when myself and Ozzy started writing all the newer songs and demoing them up on GarageBand and sending them backwards and forwards to each other, and kind of like we got into a really good rhythm of that, and we had more than enough songs for that first album and the EP, and so we kind of just stuck with that, really, because it just seemed to be like a really good way of working. It was, we had an idea, that idea saw it, saw it to the end of becoming an actual song, and then we could decide if we were going to use it or not, as opposed to just killing the idea off. So we just kind of, anybody that had an idea, we kind of like built on it and went with it, and I guess that's probably why we're in the in the place we're at now, where we've got, we've already got another album recorded and ready, and and we've got loads more songs that we just need to get finished off, really, and we could get into the recording studio probably before the end of the year and maybe bang out another album. So I don't know, it's just I think the positivity that it brought to the band, with myself and Ozzy writing those songs, and then and Erwin as well, and then putting them into like a full band sort of demo idea on GarageBand before we went into the studio or whatever, really kind of I guess it kind of gave everybody a little bit more hope that like the band was going to carry on and we're going to be able to do a lot more music, so yeah, so it was great. So that so pretty much that's kind of what we're doing now, is we'll have an idea, we'll send the idea over to Ozzy. Ozzy will kind of lay down the skeleton for it, and then we'll all we'll all kind of do our bits on it, on top of it, and send it back to each other, and then kind of tweak with the arrangement maybe a little bit before we get into the studio, or when we get into the studio, our producer Matt Ellis will probably tweak it a little bit as well, from like from an outside perspective, if we're too close to it.
No, that's great. I think it's it's healthy when you've got that real strong collaboration that's going on, and you can really fully pursue an idea and then make a decision on is this going to go on the album? Or because you've then got this kind of, as you said there, this real strong catalogue of songs, that even if at a later date you want to change, you've still kind of got a foundation there at some point, rather than kind of start from scratch. Is there off the self-titled album, is there a particular kind of favourite song for you, like something that you maybe look forward to playing live more?
From the last album, there's a lot of songs on there I really like. I really like playing Wizard Shall Not Kill Wizard. And recently I've had to learn how to play guitar for that one. So when we were doing it previously, when we played at Bloodstock, and Mark was in the band as well, I didn't actually play guitar on that. I just sang on that one, and Ozzy and Mark played guitar on that song. But now it's just Ozzy and me playing guitar. I have to play guitar on it, but I still look forward to it. It's a great tune. I really like that one. There's some of the songs that we haven't really been playing off that album yet. So I'm looking forward to that at some point. I quite like Crooked Black Wings. I think that's a really great song as well. It's like one of our another epic tune of ours. There's lots of songs on that album that that I enjoy playing. Good Times, I really enjoy playing Good Times, and Stabbed in the Back as well.
Yeah. Do you have kind of any plans for doing like a full tour in the future? Well,
we have got plans for doing some more dates before the end of this year. I can obviously let the cat out of the bag and tell you that we'll be announcing those very shortly. That's only going to be like a handful of dates though. But then we're probably going to be just saving other dates for when the album comes out in the spring of next year. So we'll be probably doing like a bit more of a full scale tour then. But between now and the end of the year, because we've got other commitments before now and then, there's only a sort of handful of dates that we can get in. So we'll be announcing those very shortly.
Looking back at your career so far, has there been kind of any highlights that you look back on at the minute and think like, that was a kind of cool moment?
Oh God, there's too many. There's too many.
I mean, you mentioned Bloodstock there. That was Bloodstock was great. We've been compiling all the stuff recently. Just kind of going through a few things because we found like a lot of live recordings from back in the day when we had an engine, like when we had a touring engineer that used to record every show. Wow.
So we've been taking a few trips down memory lane with that. But obviously there's quite a few. I mean, I'll name a handful now. I mean, the first set of dates we did with Airborne in Europe was amazing. We had a standing bass player at that point in time because we didn't really have a proper bassist. This is before Adam joined properly. I mean, it was a blast, I mean, we weren't getting paid a lot of money. We just got offered some gigs in Europe, and we'd never been over to Europe to play before. And we'd just, we'd only just done a few, probably just only done a handful of gigs in the UK as well. And it was just amazing, having to drive from France all the way up to Switzerland and then over to Germany and then down to Spain. It was just, it was bonkers, but I don't know how we did it, to be honest, but it was amazing. It was so good. And then, we did the iTunes festival with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah,
that was amazing. He picked, like, when MySpace was going, we entered St. Peter, I think, because I think we demoed it at that point. We sent over St. Peter and we got chosen out of about 500 bands or something that that had put forward to try and support him. And, so that was amazing.
What was kind of going through your mind at the time, when you're about to go out and support, somebody of that caliber?
I don't think we could believe it, really, to be honest. I mean, it was probably like one of the biggest things we'd ever done at that point. But maybe we were a bit cocky. I don't know. We might have been. I think we probably might have thought we were better than any other new rock band around, because all the other rock bands around were just being a bit. I don't know. They're too much tongue in cheek. And I think maybe we were. I think we were kind of really looking forward to it, and it was like everybody that was involved with the band but not actually playing in the band was telling us what a big thing it was. And I think because everybody was saying that, we were just kind of like, all right, well we'll let everybody else worry about it. It's just gonna be another gig, and just let's hope we can do it. And I guess we were kind of trying to take it in our stride, really. Yeah. But when it actually came to the gig, and Ozzy it pretty much floated on stage when we were doing our sound check to chat with us and everything, and then summoned us to his dressing room just before we were going to go on to have a chat. It kind of became a bit like, oh fuck, what? Yes, oh shit, this is what's happening now. And so so it was really good, to be honest. I mean, it was amazing. And I think at the same time, because we were also we'd been booked to open a festival in Germany the next day. Wow! So after we played, we could only watch a little bit of Ozzy, because we had to race down to Folkestone to get on the Channel Tunnel and then drive in a van all the way to northern Germany, which basically took us most of the night. So I think we were trying to enjoy the gig, but we knew it was going to be a mental 24 hours. Because then, we did the gig, and then, the next thing I kind of remember is we got to this festival called Devilside in northern Germany, and we were loading the gear out of the van straight onto the stage, plugged in, and had to play. It was wow. Mental. But it was, a great experience. This is obviously part of that whole weekend of the iTunes. I think that's what probably what makes it more memorable is not the fact that it was just Ozzy, but we had this, we were kind of earning our road stripes, as it were, by having to drive pretty much 12 hours from England, from London all the way across up to northern Germany to open this festival that we didn't even know whether it was a decent sized festival, whether there'd be anybody there or anything like that. But it was amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So all that, and then playing on the second stage at Download, that was amazing. We were talking about that the other day, because we were looking at one of the old backdrops that we've got that's way too big for any venues that we've been doing recently. It's 40 foot high or something. It's crackers. So, I mean, I guess. Well, we had that done because, we were doing that Download show, and we were meant to be playing with Guns N' Roses as well. And so we were allowed to take a huge backdrop with us for that. Although in the end, that didn't actually materialize, because they decided they didn't want anyone else on but Thin Lizzy. Right. So we kind of got kicked off the bill, which is a bit crap. But
unusual, yeah.
Well, it wasn't the real Guns N' Roses, so it didn't matter. it was only Axl.
Right. Oh, yes. Point. Yeah. Around that kind of. Yeah.
It was only Axl at that point, so that's fine. But since, I guess since then, and maybe even before that, actually, Duff was a really big fan of the band, and so is Slash. So so that's great. So hopefully, you never know, in the future we might get to play with them again if they carry on. It
might be one of those kind of long time coming things that
you never know.
Comes back. Yeah. Finally, a question I kind of I like to always finish on and ask every guest. It's kind of linked to a bit to that what we were just speaking about. If there was one band that you could tour with from the past and one from the present, who would they be?
Oh, that's a good question.
Everybody struggles with this question.
Well, I mean, we played with Ghost before at a couple of festivals, like back in the day, when they were going on just after us, when they were still all in the monks' outfits and everything, and the old sort of like proper old Hessian sort of robes, as opposed to the ones that they got now that are really slick with they got the masks and stuff. So, I guess it'd be good to play with Ghost again. That'd be quite a good one for a modern band, especially because they've done really well with where they've managed to get to, from where they were and from when they started and everything. We really admire how they've done that. It's fantastic. And a band from the past, well, I guess that'd be a personal choice, really. I think if it was a band choice, we'd be here for ages arguing about who that might be.
Yeah, you can be selfish. You could go for your own thing. Yeah.
Well, no, I guess it would be amazing to play with like Zeppelin or Sabbath. I think probably back in the day that might have been quite good. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure most of the rest of the band would say Sabbath over Zeppelin, but you got to admire Percy's trousers and his little pouch.
That's great. I think that's a solid choice. So we've got like Ghost and either Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath. I mean, that would be a fierce gig if that ever.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, thank you very much for speaking with me, Pete. And
you're welcome, Ryan.
And the link will be in the description below for anybody that kind of wants to check out more of Black Spiders, and for whenever those dates do appear, you can keep your eye out for that. Thank you very much. Cool.
Yeah.